Had not followed it, so it's all new to me.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I am calling the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. on Wednesday, October 16th. First order of business is approving our minutes from September 25th, and roll call. You're right, roll call. Should I do the roll call?
Roll call. Should I start with Councilor Manel since he's online?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm here.
Hi.
Councilor Ocholi,
Yeah.
Councilor Olson,
Here.
Councilor Tyso,
Here.
Councilor Walton,
Here.
Councilor Gelfand,
Here.
and Mayor Thompson.
Here. Thank you. Yeah, in the future, we might want to think about adding that to our agenda, just so that the mayor doesn't forget every time, because I do. Now we'll move on to approval of the minutes for September 25th, 2024 regular city council minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review them? If you have, do you have any questions, changes, concerns, edits, corrections? Anything? Anything? No, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, I move that we approve the September 25th minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Councilor Manel since digital hand this.
Thank you. The next item agenda is open forum, but before we start open forum, I want to bring up a couple of things. One is that I'm kind of in this mayor forum where we share ideas and concerns in an email format. And one of the concerns that one of the mayors had was that whether or not we should be requesting people's home address when they sign in for open forum. And the majority of the cities that responded to this said no, it's a violation of privacy, and most of the cities haven't been doing it for years. What they do ask instead is for them to ask whether or not they're a resident of the city, and if they're not, what city they're a resident of. So I just wanted to bring that up to you and kind of get your feedback on it. If you agree, then I think that we should probably make that change moving forward to respect people's privacy.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. Yes, are we all in agreement on that one? Okay. So,
Where does that come from? Do we know legally? Can we get back to you on information on that perhaps, and then maybe make an agenda item for the next round?
absolutely. But as of for tonight, I'm not going to ask for people's address. I'm not going to require it, because I agree. In this day and age, we should respect people's more than ever. No one else is doing it. I'm just kidding.
Kind of where it comes from?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Yep. Get back to us. Let us know. Thank you. The other thing, I've been getting a lot of emails from community members recently regarding the 3-minute rule for the open forum. And since I've been mayor and sitting in this position, I've never used a timer. I've never told anyone that their 3 minutes is up, but I've never told anyone that they only have 3 minutes. So I'm not sure if that's something that the council in the future wants to change, modify, or if whoever's leading the meeting, which in this case in council format, it's the mayor, they want to make that decision on their own as I have. But as long as I'm sitting here, I'm not going to limit you to 3 minutes. The only time I've done that is when we had a hearing, and that's really specific timelines, and it is a little more important to keep people on time because it can be a long hearing. But for the public forum portion, I'm a little more lax on that, because if you have something you want to make a point about, I think it's important to be heard. And I would want that if I was standing there. The other thing I think that the council should talk about at some point, I don't know if we want to do it tonight or if we want to make an agenda item in the future, but it's the other notion of not being able to talk about something that's not on the agenda for the evening. I understand the reasoning behind it, but say that there's a community member that, you know, for example, has a safety issue outside their home, whether it's speeding cars or graffiti or something, and they want to use this as their form of communication to communicate that to us. I think that a community member should be able to come to us. We're a small enough community still where we should be able to listen to those kinds of concerns from our community members. So in my perspective, I think that we should have some leeway in whether or not we listen to concerns that aren't on tonight's agenda. So I'm not sure if we need to make that an agenda item or how the rest of the council even feels about that. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Agreed, I think we need feedback from the.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. You know, I do have a point of clarity that I don't understand. You know, when the open forum, when somebody comes up and wants to talk, you know, we let them talk, they do their 3 or 4 minutes, and we say thank you. What's the protocol for, sometimes I have questions about what they're talking about, and I want to have a little bit of a discussion about what they're bringing to point. You know, I might want to clarify, or I might want to ask, where are you getting this information? You know, can you help me understand? You know, so is there a rule that we're just supposed to sit here and listen to that, or can we have a discussion? Are we concerned about discussions because of time?
So in my perspective, since it's our city council meeting, I think that's up for us to decide. I know that on the agenda, it might say something different. I think it actually said something. Visitors may state their comments and should not expect the governing body to discuss the statement or issue. So I think it's up to us to make that decision.
I think it would be more, not so much of a discussion between a group thinking that we should do something about it. It's more, I want to clarify so that we as a group have more understanding, so then at some point we can decide whether we really want to talk about it, but we want to clarify what they're saying, or maybe, you know, just get some more facts or questions answered.
I agree with you, and there are times when I do ask more questions, and I would like to empower the rest of the counselors to do the same thing, because if you want to gain understanding of someone's concerns, you should absolutely feel like you're in this position for a reason. And the reason is to listen to your community members and to, you know, really actively listen, not just nod your head. So if you want to explore that, I think that's my position. Mike, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just going to say the reasons that we have this for is to set up for items pertaining to the business in front of the city at this moment. That's what this is. It's a business meeting, and the public is here to observe us conduct city business. That's the whole purpose of this meeting. So if it's not pertaining to city business, then it really doesn't have a spot in this forum to be discussed. However, if they would like to present an item, and then the council wants to put that item on the agenda for discussion, that also gives the city staff to prepare for preparation to prepare the council, both legally and administratively, through all the regulations on where the city is. So that way you are an informed body when that item is actually discussed. By the forum that we take is that you can present items for a future agenda, or you can discuss the items on the agenda.
Yeah.
So what they can do is say, I would like to put da-da-da and da-da-da on the agenda for discussion. And then the council can say, you know, that's a great idea. I'd like to add that to the next agenda as well. Can I get a motion, a second, a vote, boom, added to the agenda for the next time around, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that also gives the staff a chance to prepare if there's anything that needs to be investigated or looked into before we just open it up to an open forum and a discussion and a vote on something that we are still prepared to vote on.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Just a quick comment. I was unaware that people could say, from the public, that they could say, I would like to bring up this subject for a future council meeting.
Yeah, I think that's what it says. I think it says you can talk about items on the agenda or make suggestions for future agenda items.
Oh,
That's what.
yeah, okay, I'm just not
And
paying.
it's really up to the council whether they actually want to discuss that or not. If it's an item that requires a public hearing and the public hearing's already been done and resolved, then obviously that's an item that probably wouldn't make the agenda for the next one, because that would require a public hearing, right?
Denny, did you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, I was president of the KCCA for a couple of years, and it was my attitude that we had one meeting a month where people could talk, and to limit them to 2 or 3 minutes, I thought was not showing respect to them. So we had, and people didn't take advantage of it. So,
Well,
Thank you for that.
again, I'm not suggesting that we're having a discussion within
Yeah.
the group. This is just me clarifying whether it's whether it's an item they're bringing in that is on the agenda, or if it's a future thing. I want to make sure I understand what they're talking about. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think, you know, the position of mayor probably should make some of those kinds of decisions,
Again.
like whether or not, and I mean, I'm sure, you know, I've got short timers syndrome right now because I'm, you know, only have a couple months left, but for the next mayor, I think that mayor should feel empowered to, either allow that, you know, back and forth with the councilors or not, you know, it's up to the next mayor, but I think that that's kind of their and the council's decision together, whether or not to do that.
Excellent.
Any other comments or?
well, for me, I'll say, time limiting, yes, I've always said it. 3 minutes is not enough, right? And I always need the time to meet people outside of this environment, offline, right? And you get the opportunity to kind of discuss with them and get to hear more in detail,
Yeah.
and that's what we've been doing. I mean, if we want to put out the fact that we limited to the time, then we'll be here till the early morning.
That's true, it's possible, right?
We need to have some type of order.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I think even if we're trying to change the time, not to just keep it unlimited time,
sure.
put some time limit to
Sure.
control the order of the day.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, thank you. Okay, anything else?
I just have
Yeah.
one final point, and
Sure.
that's the back and forth.
Yeah.
Reason that we're here to listen is because we don't want to get engaged in a back and forth argument
Yeah,
with a resident of the city. And so I think it's important that, the quorum states that we don't engage.
mhm,
This is the time for us to listen, time for us to hear their concerns, and then while it's on the agenda later, that's the time for this public body to discuss that amongst yourselves and come up with the way to proceed. That's why the forum is such that we're here to listen, we're here to hear we're gonna have a discussion about this as a board in the agenda. And so, I would just caution you on engaging in an argumentative or
Sure.
public discussion like that. It can go downhill really fast, and then you can get the audience all worked up as well,
Yeah.
and it can have dire consequences for maintaining the order and the decorum of the meeting. So, and I've seen it both ways,
Okay.
and I've seen the downside of wide open argumentative, and it's not pretty.
right, yeah, we don't want that. We do not want that. All right, thank you for that, I appreciate that. I think, anyone else, last call? Okay, is there anyone that signed in? And if you did sign in, were you the first person that signed in? Yes, please. Come on up here to the podium and tell us your name and what city you live in, please.
My name is Ron Nixon, and I've lived in King City for over 20 years. I currently live in the Highlands neighborhood. I'm here to discuss a potential agenda future item for you to consider. I served as a reserve deputy with Washington County for several and a reserve police officer for Sherwood for several years. So I believe that I'm in a good position to judge what I perceive to be a public safety issue for our neighborhood. And I'm speaking specifically for the intersection of Southwest 131st and Southwest Dixon. I have photos here and that's the best I can do. I wish I had more. But there is an issue where northbound traffic on 131st attempting to make a right-hand turn to go east on Southwest Dixon they sometimes face what I consider like the chute, that with cars parked, so you can see what I'm talking about. And first of all, I guess I should have said in the beginning that I am not here representing the HOA board. In a town hall meeting 2 months ago, there were approximately 100 attendees at our town hall. And when the president of the HOA asked if they wanted me to be the representative to bring this issue up to the city council, they all most of them raised their hand. Yes, we want Ron to present this issue to the council. So, not representing the HOA. The board president wanted me to be sure to let you know that. So to backtrack now, is that the developer of the apartments, he paid for and created this parking lane directly in front of the north-facing apartment doors, so that they could exit their apartment and be right there to their vehicles. Well, that really didn't interfere with two-way traffic that it has existed on Dixon for like forever, since 1992 probably. So now with these people from the apartments, either guests or residents, plus an occasional person parking from the condos, the Highlands condos, parking on Dixon, you created this almost lane and a half. And you have to remember, the community is a community of seniors. And the community of seniors are more cautious, I think, than the typical 35-year-old driver. And they are sometimes afraid to shoot the gap, to go between there. So what they've done is they just stop. They stop right in the middle of the street. And then the people coming off of 131st, they have to, well, who's going to go first through the gap? And so I've seen it as a real problem. Also, when the school gets out, you've got cars backed up from the entrance of this Deer Creek Elementary all the way to Dixon. And so when they finally get a chance to cut through the neighborhood, they want to turn right and just tear through our neighborhood. And they can't, because the people on Southwest Dixon that are leaving the neighborhood, they're faced with this oncoming onslaught of cars. So I think what I would like to see are at least 2 no parking signs on the north side of Dixon between 130th Terrace and 131st, and perhaps a red curb. And that would free up those 2 lanes so that people can freely come and go without worrying about shooting the gap in between the parked cars on both sides.
Thank you.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like we should add that to our next agenda.
And, yeah, Max sent me an email saying that he had measured the curb-to-curb distance, and he said after some internal discussion, I'm unsure if the city has an obligation to change a roadway where this is no apparent safety issue. Well, I can tell you that 100 people from my town hall and I feel that this is a public safety issue. Okay?
Thanks so much.
So,
Nice to meet you.
has everyone seen that? Denny, did you see it? Okay.
Yeah, there's actually a street in Edgewater that I've had the same concern with, so I think.
You want to keep that for future?
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll have to
Give it to Ronnie.
I think it's a great thing to discuss at a future meeting in general, whether or not we can fix that problem or not. I am curious about the emergency vehicles being able to maneuver on some of these streets, and so I would like to discuss this at more length at our next meeting, how the city addresses issues like this.
Engineering question.
Okay.
So essentially, I would just ask our city engineer to come in here and those, city corridors and how they're covered.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Okay, anyone else like to? Yes, please. That's okay, it's back there. If you don't mind, maybe on your way out, you can write your name down for us, please. But first, it's just right there on the desk. But you can come speak to us now and then, yeah. If you give us your first and last name and what city you live in, please.
I have some notes here, if that's okay. First time speaking in front of all you guys, so bear with me, okay?
You should be really nervous.
Oh, yeah,
A little bit nervous? Yeah, a little bit nervous. Okay, so yeah, good evening, everyone. My name's Gary Davis. I'm a resident of King City, specifically the Edgewater community. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, an engineer, father, and a husband. I moved to this city about 3 years ago. First time speaking, as I've already said. I'd like this opportunity to suggest a topic for the future agenda and share some general comments I have. So first, I was very surprised to see about the recent West Side Trail survey. Following the recall effort, I was actually shocked to see that the council was still trying to put those two roads, one through Fisher and then one right at Capulet, was where we live. Again, the roads are too narrow and they're just not designed to handle the amount of traffic that's going to flow through them, especially Capulet. If you guys go up by Capulet, you'll understand what I mean. So I'm concerned for the traffic that will be attracted, lead to noise and safety concerns in the community. There's a lot of kids in my neighborhood. I have a daughter myself. Additionally, I wonder whether the council has engaged with all the residents on both sides of that trail, right? So, there's a lot of facilities being planned, BMX, there's a lot of stuff, dog park, all these things that they're trying to put there. And I know there's people's homes that back up to them. There's people on the other side. And I know not everyone gets these invites, right? So if you're not on the distribution list for the city, you're not going to see that there's this survey. You're not going to know that there's this, these upcoming meetings about it. So I think that's another concern. As we engaged with some of those folks that are about to have, abundance of noise, in my opinion, it's a huge scale. I believe there's going to be a lot of traffic noise, safety issues, including crime and homelessness, all hours of the day and night to a community that's currently quiet. So that's a big concern. My question is there an upcoming agenda item to discuss this matter aside from the open house? So I was hoping that there would be an agenda item here to discuss this and allow people to come with, some questions. In closing, as I stated prior, I am a veteran. I served in the U.S. Navy Honor Guard in Washington, D.C. I participated in numerous official ceremonies, as well as those honoring those who've lost their lives for our country in Arlington, including those who died in the Pentagon attack. I later served in the Persian Gulf on board an aircraft carrier during the Iraq War, and I understand the values of honor, courage, and commitment. I believe in upholding those principles, and I was very disappointed to see this one return to the City Council after the recall. I think that the weight of that and that dishonor stands with anyone who allowed that to occur. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your service. I'm not sure if we want to discuss anything about that. I guess my question maybe to the council is, should we add some kind of discussion following the open house that's coming up about the West Side Trail to kind of go over the survey results, the open house? Is that something that interests the council?
Yeah, I think there should be some discussion and maybe more clarity for the public.
Any, Jim?
Can I just mention here, there's a process to everything, right?
Sure.
So there's always a process. The city council serves as the visioning board, policymakers, and the goal setters of the organization, essentially. And we're going through a process right now. It's kind of a visioning process. And start with planning commission, start with outreach, and we go with our consultants that build this plan, and it goes through all these processes. So the first step is, of course, we had community outreach at the school, at the park, throughout the community, at open house at Deer Creek. Then through that process, we came up with some ideas of what we could do throughout the time with that corridor from East Bend down to the Slauson River. Those are programmed in there by priority that was outlined from the input that we received. So now we have kind of a basic plan for that corridor, like kind of a master plan, parks master plan for that corridor. And it's only about 15% of the way through this. And it will take years to actually get this whole thing up and running, like multiple years and multiple funding sources to get everything filed together. But there are priorities in there based based on the community input that we received. So as this progresses, the next phase will be, as I think what Max said, what Max posting now is a new open house coming down our way and a new survey that we put out. And that'll allow us to, again, get more input on the design that was put out. And we've already taken that design back to Community Park and back to Deer Creek and just try to get some outreach in other areas. But we'll do another open house, we'll do the survey, we'll get the inputs. Our consultants will try to add that input into the mapping system. It'll then come to the Planning Commission to review. The Planning Commission will have its own public hearing. It'll be another open setting where people can come and present dialogue and everything else. Then from there, the Planning Commission renders a recommendation, thumbs up, thumbs down on how to move forward. Then that recommendation then comes to the City Council. The City Council then holds a public hearing. You hear from people again, and then you render a decision, thumbs up, thumbs down, and then it's basically we move forward. So there's a big, long, drawn-out process here that usually it does come to the council, but usually it's after we've kind of worked out. Sometimes we can't work out all the kinks. Obviously, like the transportation stuff isn't part of this. It's already done. So what we're working on is the Parks Plan. So what can we do with the Parks Plan, and that's our focus.
I think one of the concerns from the community is the road extensions. And so that's part of the West Side Trail project. Correct.
Well, I would say that those road extensions aren't necessarily part of the West Side Trail. Those were part of the transportation system. So, the transportation system plan identified those key connections as instrumental to the city's continued future growth, also requirements. So those are elements that will obviously need to be implemented at some point in time to accommodate the future growth. And those connections are actually triggered, but it doesn't make sense to build a park and then have no access to it. So that's why the road connections, even though they're stubbed and just barricaded off, will be there. Access, parking lots, access to the restroom facilities, community gardens, access elements, parks include the water.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion in the community as to whether, I guess, the timeline of when the Capulet extension and the Fisher Road extensions, is that happening tomorrow? Is that happening in 20 years? Is that happening in 10? You know, I think there's just a lot of fear because people don't really know.
Yeah, I've said this is probably in the 5 to 10 year phase of, like, when we looked at our transportation system plan, 137th in the West Side Trail was in the Tier 1, which is like the 5 to 10 years. But all of this is funding based. We have to have funding in order to do this. That means we have to have the grants. We have to have regional work for the project. And it is a regional trail. Shows that it is supported regionally. But these things take a long time. They don't happen overnight. And the other thing that our engineers are trying to do is implement traffic control devices such as elevated crosswalks, which act as like a speed cushion, the hawk beacon lights, cars down, and a number of other traffic calming devices along the pathway. So hopefully, I totally get Capulet. Really narrow street, it's that spot. I think it's only 20 feet wide. As you get the West Side Trail on Capulet, and then it's like Macbeth. If you've been down Macbeth, it's parking on both sides. It's one way the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
And that was our biggest concern on, the TSP, because we're like, how do we throw traffic down Capulet? We just simply can't do it. There's not room for that. And that's why we went with Fisher, which was also controversial. But also having a local connection at Montague as well. So the connections at Montague and Capulet are intended to be local. Fisher was also a local collector, but more volume to capacity ratio on that road at 36 feet wide versus 20 foot wide Capulet or 20 foot wide Montague.
Mike, I just gotta ask this, why are roads necessary to access the parking? From the maps, the parking is right off of the existing streets. Why would we need roads to access the parking?
Why do you need roads to access parks?
Access the parking, oh, did I misunderstand you? I thought you said we needed the roads to access parking.
The roads access parking and the parks. So the roads provide the access to the parks and the parking.
Well, the existing roadway already accesses the parkings from what I've seen of the plan.
I think, Randy, if the only access is from Edgewater, that's going to put a tremendous amount of stress on people who live in Edgewater. And so being able to access from 137th and have parking off of 137th, so it's so you can spread the stress a little bit so that not just Edgewater, because Capulet and Montague are really small roads.
But the roads will be stubbed for 10 or 20 years, is what I heard.
They'll be barricaded until the improvements on 137th are completed. So there won't be through traffic allowed that way. But we also have improvements along 137th, we're gonna do in there just the curb parking, which would allow still, I think, some parking on 137th to access that park area. And the trailhead of the river, the Tualatin River, would probably be primarily accessed from the Edgewater community. So that would obviously, at least for the time being, just because I think it's a private park on the other side, so it would take time for those connections to be made.
Because when I drive over there, I end up driving out of this area over to Fisher Road and then take Fisher down to Shakespeare or one of the other, and it's not an easy, it's not easy. Have you driven that?
Oh, I live over there.
You live in Edgewater?
Yes, I walk my dog on all the roads we're talking.
Yeah, so you know that, and if you go all the way to that kind of alleyway that runs parallel to that park, that's really skinny.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm always thinking, what if some child comes darting out or somebody wants to back their car out? You know,
One of them is actually an Edgewater alleyway, and the rest of them are city roadways.
yeah. Oh, is that right? So I'm sort of traveling on a private
It's hard
road?
to tell the difference.
Yeah, one coming out of, the King City Community Park, if you continue north on that,
Yeah,
that's private, that area there from,
Sebastian,
King Lear, is it King Lear?
Sebastian up to Capulet.
Yeah. Isn't the area from, King Lear to Sebastian public, and then the alleyway from Sebastian to Capulet also private?
That's private.
Yeah, and then the one south from Montague to King Lear is also private, I believe.
I think it's city. We didn't maintain it.
Is it? I think it's private too, yeah.
But even though they're private, cars use them all the time. I mean, it doesn't stop anybody. I walk my dog up and down that street all the time, and cars come ripping down that road right now. It's really dumb, you know.
Well, we would have to do improvements to the West Side Trail, and we would have to do improvements to those stretches, because it is just a simple alleyway. It's not wide enough to handle 2-lane traffic on that.
Which I guess was my point, why stub in the roads? It won't improve the parking, and it won't improve the driving over there. They're just the dead end roads.
You stubbing the roads at the same time,
Yes.
just so that all the infrastructure is in the same place at the same time. Order of efficiencies, if you will.
Well, that makes sense, but yeah,
That'd be nuts.
it wouldn't improve access to parking.
What was that? I'm sorry.
It would, stubbing in the roads now would not improve access to the parking.
It would, because the parking takes access from the road. Parking lots take access
From the existing road.
from those stubs.
they go across
The stubs would
the
go to
alleyway?
137th, and then the parking lots would take access from those stubs. And there's also infrastructure that would need to be put into the ground, water, sewer, gas, power, in and through there. And be stubbed over to 137.
We're gonna get a taste of that the minute that the dock's finished.
Yeah,
You know, once people wanna come in and start, because that's gonna draw people from all over. We're gonna get a taste really quick of how those roads are gonna be handling just even the minimal traffic before we build up the park, so it'll be an interesting litmus test.
All right, anything else anyone has to add? Or should we move on to the next speaker? Thank you. Anyone else like to? Statements? Yes. Please state your full name and the city that you live in.
Gene Blair, unincorporated Washington County. This will be very quick. I just wanted to say thank you for the discussion you had before open forum. I've tested, in previous years, I testified under the 3-minute rule, no discussion, and walked away feeling, I even got a chuckle out of you once. That's some good points. But I walked away feeling completely dismissed and ignored. And the concept you talked about, I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for saying that. All right, anyone else? No? Online, is there anyone online that would like to? Viva, are you online with us?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Viva. Go ahead and state your full name and what city you live in, please.
Thank you. Viva Gaylor, King City. And when you have a weird name, they can find where you live. It's the Mary Smiths that are private. I would like to make 2 points. One, I would like to ask how the City Charter Review Committee process. I have not seen it on the agenda, and I know there was asked for volunteers. It's going to be a pretty long process, and I just wanted to get that on the agenda. And the number 2 item, I wanted to make a suggestion for the future, and it is based on when zip codes came about and post offices were included, like that's when the town Lake Oswego was created, and Lincoln City. And when Lincoln City was created, it was the schools that came up with the name. And I would like to suggest King City work with Deer Creek to come up with some of the names for the new parks that we will ultimately have along the West Side Trail, because it's a metro project. And thank you.
Oh, we didn't hear that last part, Viva. Can you restate that, please?
I would like to suggest that the Deer Creek students have a contest to name the future parks, possibly the dock in the park. And it involves the students, and it is their future. They're going to have to live with the names a lot longer than we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Viva.
Good idea.
I think that's a great idea. I love that. But she did bring up a good point. I was wondering about the City Charter Review Committee as well.
yeah, it hasn't been going so great.
Okay.
I think we only have like 2 people,
Oh,
so we should definitely use some more.
and we're looking for how many people?
I think like 9.
Okay. I mean, I'd like to be on it. I don't know how we're looking for people or how that process.
Yeah, just advertising, putting it out, and so forth, and things.
But ex-city councilors can, right?
What? Ex-city council. It's like, December. January.
From January.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
So far we have 2 people on it?
Sign-ups online.
Okay.
And they can come to our office as well.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, they can, sign up online or come to our office and, happy to have.
Did we decide they need to be a King City resident?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, we should really figure out a way to put the word out in the community in a grand way for that. I think a lot of people out in the neighborhood that don't normally get involved in anything would love to be thinking about being on top of that and changing some of
You're
the
funny.
ways we do
I'm gonna
business.
put it in the next newsletter that we send out for sure.
Cool, that'd be great, thank
Should
you.
be coming out here in another month or so. Totally, but, yeah, that's usually when we would do it. Try to get it mailed out in December, so we'll work on it in November.
Maybe we can incentivize people by offering to buy them a cup of coffee or something if they can buy it. I don't know. Starbucks gift card.
Yeah.
That was cute, Viva.
So I remember, what is the timeline we were hoping for the charter to complete their work?
We were hoping 18 months,
18 months?
but, you know, if we
Yeah.
can't, we can't, like, staff a committee, it's kind of hard to move stuff forward, right?
Yeah.
So, we're working on it, but we just need some more, movement from the.
Viva's got her hand up again.
We did.
Can I would just,
Oh, hold on, Viva.
Emailed it out. We didn't mail it out because
Viva, I'm gonna let you just make one more comment, but then we have to mute you. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
thank you. How about we suggest that some of the people in the community sign up for that committee and use it for their volunteer hours at work? A lot of people don't think about that, and a lot of companies ask employees to do that. So that's another thing I'd like to suggest to add on our ask. And it has, I'm obviously one of the two that signed up. It has been out there. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Viva.
She's always so positive.
Very positive.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I like her idea too about the Deer Creek students, and I'm not sure how that would even work. You might have a better idea. No, you don't know either. Does anybody have an idea on how that would work?
Up to the
So
principal.
the principal.
The problem is that they're not voting members of the community yet, because they're not quite.
They can make a recommendation, and then the community can vote on the top three.
I just definitely make a recommendation on the.
Maybe I'll follow up with Viva about that. I will follow up. Viva. Great, okay, last call for open forum. Anyone else online? Can you raise your hand online if you are waiting patiently? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the open forum portion of our meeting and move on to item number 4, which is a special presentation by Chip Paternoster. Did I get it right?
You did, thank you.
To speak to us about employee relations. Hi, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Thompson and members of the council. My name's Chip Paternoster. I am an attorney representing 3 King City employees: the city manager, Mike Weston, the chief of police, Ernie Hapola, and Lieutenant Brian Sigler. I understand that you're operating under a lot of time constraints this evening with an agenda, and so I'll try and keep it very brief. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak before the council and the mayor, just taking a few minutes to address a couple of things. Over the course of the last several months, my clients have been subject to a series of accusations and allegations. These allegations have been anonymous in nature, they've been unvetted in their substance, and they've been unsubstantiated in their merit. Despite those things, an investigation has been launched against those 3 individuals by King City. And the city has done little to defend them against those allegations and claims. That failure to do so has created a hostile work environment and made it incredibly difficult for my clients to continue to do their jobs, not only at the city, but during their daily routines as they move about the city trying to serve the community. As a result of the allegations and the investigation it launched, over the last several months, my clients have been threatened, they've been harassed, they've been yelled at in public, and they've even been accosted in front of their children. The city hasn't provided any defense to these allegations, and perhaps even more concerning, we believe that the city has provided information to these anonymous complainants, which includes personnel information and employment information that would not be otherwise public related to their employment. No one disputes the city's ability to conduct evaluations of their personnel, investigations or inquiries to make sure that city resources are being used efficiently, that justice is being administered fairly, and that public officials and servants like my clients are serving the community the way that they're supposed to. But the investigation that's been launched and the anonymous allegations that have been made, that's not their purpose. The purpose of those investigations and the purpose of those anonymous allegations are to do the exact opposite, to smear these individuals and to stop the effective functioning of government. The city council and the city shouldn't tolerate that kind of behavior. They shouldn't tolerate the politicization of the investigative process. It undermines the effort and good works of public servants like my clients. It also creates liability for the city in the work environment it creates and in the release of to the public of private confidential information. My clients, between them, have over 40 years of service to King City. I don't have enough time in this meeting to distinguish and lay out before you all of their accomplishments on behalf of this community. They deserve better than what they're getting right now, which is being forced to sit and watch as anonymous allegations fly in the paper, in the community, while they're harassed as they try and do their jobs. By letter to the City Council today, and as I speak to you, I would ask that the city end the investigation that was started by these anonymous allegations. In the event that the city is unwilling to do that, I would ask that the city undertake its own investigation as to the genesis of these allegations, who brought them, and to vet them so that we have some ability to defend ourselves against what has been said, why it's been said, and what is the basis for these allegations. Finally, I would ask that if this investigation is to go forward, I believe that these city employees have a right to be defended by the city. They have been operating in the course and scope of their employment, and that creates an obligation of the city to provide and pay for a defense as to these allegations. And we hope it doesn't go that far. We hope that the 40 years of distinguished service puts us in a position where anonymous allegations don't rise to continuing investigations that prohibit my clients from doing their job. I appreciate, and I would be happy to answer any questions that any of the councilors or the mayor have. I also appreciate that given that this is sensitive employment information, that these are discussions that the council and mayor may want to have in executive session. And so, because it relates to employment and employment personnel records. So I thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Before you sit down, I did want to ask you a couple of things.
Sure.
When you were kind of wrapping it up, you said that you were asking the council to do something, and I wasn't clear.
It's my understanding that based on the allegations that have been made, an investigation has been launched by King City. We have no idea where that investigation has gone, whether or not there has been anything that has been done. I can represent that at least my clients have not been contacted by anyone purporting to be conducting an investigation. We would ask that that investigation be terminated if in fact it exists, and in the event that the city council or the mayor city is unwilling to end the investigation,
We ask to get information about what is going on, who's conducting it, what's the basis, what are the allegations that have been made, and by whom and what data. Right now, we have merely rumors and innuendo, and we don't know anything about what's going on, which hampers our ability to even respond either in public or in private to what's being alleged.
Well, I share those same exact concerns. I'm pretty sure everybody on this council does. I know the community members do. I have asked our city attorney probably 5 or 6 times, at least, in writing, tell me what's the status of the investigation, who's the investigator, please send me a copy of the contract that you signed with me. I've gotten nothing. So I'm not really sure how to answer that, but everybody shares those same concerns. So I think we need to, I haven't seen Peter Watts, our city attorney, at one of these meetings in quite some time, but I think that we need to strongly encourage him to give us an update in public at our next meeting, please. I think it's a valid concern and it's a valid question.
I fear, and thank you, Ms. Mayor, I fear that you have an escalation over time when you don't have this being responded to in any forum. And that is my concern, and it's my concern on behalf of the servants that I represent who have difficult jobs to begin with. And when these things are swirling around, it undermines public confidence. And that doesn't serve my clients. It certainly doesn't serve King City and the community.
I agree.
So, did our attorney go and hire a third party to investigate?
So we'll back up. We were strongly advised by our insurance company to hire a third-party investigator because of liability to the city. That was a recommendation from our insurance company. The insurance company advised us that our city attorney should be point of contact, a liaison. So that's the course of what happened, and ever since that recommendation, Peter, I haven't gotten an update, except for that he has said that he hired an investigator.
Should we be holding an executive session with our attorney on this?
Can I chime in, because I'm one of the advisors. And because I can't have any part in the investigation and everything else, but I'll
Right.
kind of explain my understanding was, that the attorney can't have a position in this either, and that's why, he hired the CIS, third-party independent investigator to do the investigation, and now it's been 7 months.
Right.
And we're standing on, us four, who are the main primary, people accused and defamed and libeled and slandered in this thing.
Right.
On an anonymous cowardly letter, by the way. And, no one wants to put their name to it because they know they're liable for libel, slander, and defamation of our character.
Yep.
And here we are 7 months later on an anonymous complaint that probably should have just been thrown in the trash. And so, and we're getting slandered in the paper now. And that's why I think the 3 of us asked, Mr. Paternoster to come before you and just say, please make a decision on this thing, because right now it's sitting in third world wherever, and we don't know what's going on, and it's hard for us to do our job, and we're just getting tired.
Yeah, I understand. And I mean, at this point, I feel like there's no investigation even going on. As far as I know, I haven't heard anything to the contrary. So I mean, I'm kind of at the
Mark's
point.
got his hand raised, by the way.
I'm kind of at the point where we might need to hire a new city attorney if he's not going to respond to my request, because it's totally unprofessional. And you guys do deserve an answer, a closed case, if you will, because that's what the investigation was probably, going to prove, was that there's nothing legally.
Well, in his defense, if the other counsel that was hired doesn't respond or doesn't report to you, but he's not here to defend.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if that's the case. But as I said, we haven't had any news. We're kind of in the dark because we
Yeah.
can't be involved.
I think we should absolutely have an executive session either before the next meeting or after the next meeting Peter Watts should
I
be
think
in
we should
attendance.
try to do this very quickly.
Okay.
Counselor Pinellas has his hand
Yep.
up too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Mayor, I kind of agree with their counsel. If, this is an anonymous letter and maybe we should just drop any investigation, is it worth spending taxpayer money on anonymous, false allegations?
Right. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's an executive session.
Yeah, 'cause I'm concerned when you talk about the insurance, unfortunately, we have to listen to them a little bit.
Well, we've given you all, line by line, Officer Stigler, Lieutenant Stigler has provided you line by line response to everything in that thing. I provided you line by line responses to everything in there. Our attorney has also explained that all these allegations are false, so the council knows that they're false. Councilor Ocholi's been here with this council long enough to understand that all those allegations are just warped sense of what their reality is, and it's not based in any sort of fact. It's just generalizations after generalization without any proof of evidence or anything else. Slanderous and defamation,
Well, the way it was explained to me,
not followed.
sorry to interrupt, the way it was explained to me by the attorneys with the insurance company was that this would really be to clear your names officially, would be the purpose of the investigation. But at this point, if there's not an investigation that's even started, I think that we should come together as a council. And what happened is I don't think we had a full council when that letter came out. The timing of it was that it was.
It was like a week or two after the recall was successful, of course, because they use an analogy here, they chop the head off the snake, why not chop the body off as well?
Right. So I don't think that the rest of the councilors have seen what you and I have seen, in regards to their statements. So I think those should be shared with the council before we have an executive session, and then we should chat with the city attorney, maybe a CIS representative, I don't know, we'll have to talk more about that.
Yeah. And we should get on that. This is ridiculous to have something like that holding.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, this is BS.
And while I don't advise the council, at some point, the legal liability begins to change, and you're not so much worried about the legal liability that flows from what was alleged in the anonymous allegations, but what's happening to these individuals who are continuing to be subjected to being in limbo over it. So,
I have a question for you.
Sure.
And I hear what you're saying, and I get it, that they are probably having a hard time in the community because of this letter, and which
sure.
is horrible. I don't like any of that. But my question to you is, if there isn't an investigation to clear their name, how does that change the community's response to people that have been accused of something that hasn't done?
It's a great question. I think that the key is the vetting process of the complaint itself. And I'm not sure that there really was a vetting process here. If there's a vetting process up front when an anonymous complaint comes in so that there can at least be some assessment that there is some merit to it or something worth investigating, then perhaps it is of value for individuals to have their name cleared, so to speak. But I think, much like in the criminal world, there's got to be a bar that's cleared first before you even set that process in motion. Because otherwise what happens is tremendous resources are spent opening investigations that have no merit, or in this case, because we don't even know whether an investigation has been started, there's this tremendous consequence to good public servants trying to do their job because there's this massive cloud hanging over their head. And so what I might suggest that the council look at is, what is the process when you get certain complaints? Is there a vetting? Is there something different when you have an anonymous complaint that you're doing to look to see that it has merit? I don't know if you want to wipe out completely the anonymous complaint piece of it, because maybe there's a time when an anonymous complaint has some value. But there's got to be a standard, because what ends up happening sometimes, and what I fear happens here, is someone has an agenda to go after somebody, and you can set the wheel spinning very, very far down the road. We're at 7-8 months now, with these guys trying to do their job every day with 40 years of service in, trying to get through the day with this big cloud hanging over their head. So.
Right. It's frustrating for all of us.
Sure.
Because we didn't have any control over this anonymous complaint, and it was hand-delivered to every single person that lives in the city. So the message got out there before we had anything to say about it. So, I mean, how do you, and we've tried in council meetings to say how much we support our police force, our city manager. What we've said has been written up in the Tiger Times. I mean, I feel like we've been clear that we support them. We thought an investigation would clear their name. I guess I'm asking you, what more can we do? Because we do want to support them.
Sure, and again, I guess my suggestion would be either, I never want to suggest that you go around your attorneys, which you already have, but it sounds to me like there's some miscommunication there, and I think ultimately the moving forward of this investigation is in the hands of the council, certainly with the consent or the consultation with your lawyer. But at this point, this council has to decide whether or not to continue this investigation, whether or not it's worthy of investigating, because it's just sitting out there, and I don't see anything that tells me that any evidence or information has been accumulated that suggests there's any merit to this. And so again, I think it is in your hands to decide amongst yourselves whether or not this is something that continues to be worth pursuing.
So if we decide not to pursue the investigation, how are their names cleared, I guess is what I'm asking you, because they're not.
Well, but I would suggest that simply by having the investigation dismissed at this point for any lack of evidence, that speaks volumes at this point.
That's something we can talk about.
I think
We want to make their lives better. At this point, their lives, they've been suffering.
I appreciate that.
None of us want that for them. None of us want that for their families. None of us want that for them as people. And I think the majority of our community members do not want that for them. There's always going to be some community members that are going to be the wild cards that we can't control.
Sure.
But we want what's best for them, and I think I can speak on behalf of all of us when I say that we don't want to put them through any additional hardship. So we will definitely have an executive session and make a decision.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. Thank you.
Mayor.
Have a question?
Mayor, if I can add to some members of the group that distributed the letter around the city, what their intentions were behind, and I have got zero answers, and I've even asked that in my, my council remarks, and they won't answer what their intention was. So
Sorry, you're breaking up, Councilman Ellis.
Oh, sorry. I'm going into a building.
Oh. Okay, so it sounds like you know who distributed the information.
We know.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you can hear me now. I have one of them on my Ring doorbell camera, who it was, and then I asked another community member that is very involved, that I think everyone on the council is probably aware of who it is. Their intention behind distributing the letter was, and they won't answer that question.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, we'll talk more about that in the executive session.
Strangely enough, I picked this up and read it for the first time today, and I went through to see where I could find any validity. I can't. What I see is a cowardly act, assumptions, accusations, and assertions. That's it. So I think we need to act.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Can I just say one last thing? I think that the majority of this council knows the work that the four of us have put in for the city over the past, 40, combined 40 plus years.
It feels 40 years.
I'll tell you. But, if you're a manager of this organization, your job doesn't end when you walk out the door. carry it in your laptop, you carry it in your phone, you carry it at home, answer calls in the middle of the night, answer, all sorts of wild crime things that blow your mind, you know? Take that home with you. And then you have to deal with all the stress of the job and everything else, and you take that home with you. And then you come in and then you get bashed online every time you turn around, and then you take that home with you. And it just starts piling up, you know? So the four of us have all been basically slandered to the hilt. Not only by this dossier thing that was circulated by a few people, but then they go and put their stuff online. They put it in the news article, who repeats it, and it just keeps going. And no one ever stands up and says, you know what, that's not true. And that's what we're asking the council to stand up and say, you know it's not true. We know it's not true, but we don't have a voice because we're the staff here. So this is our voice right now, and we're asking the council to stand up for us and say, enough's enough.
Thank you, Mike. How does that make you feel that we're gonna have an executive session to discuss?
I think we're gonna have I think it's a sensitive subject.
Yeah.
But what I want to do is get it cleared up. Like, I want to meet where we feel a little more comfortable in a private session where we're talking about people. We can get this thing solved. The mayor, well, I'm not putting words in your mouth by anything, Mayor, but the mayor, maybe she's going to put something on the website that says, this is what we've decided for all of you wondering what's about this letter. And we do support you guys that way. I don't know any other better way than just put it out there, because I agree, Mike, with what you're saying, 100%, but I feel more comfortable personally if we can just get in a closed room, really hash this through appropriately, hopefully get our city attorney to be there so we can figure out where this thing is, and then either they're going to give us some answers or we're going to tell them that we don't need them anymore and move on.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't think we can do that tonight.
And the problem with going public on this is a lot of this information is like personnel records. So you're asking for access to personnel records and all this other stuff that we can't share, except with you guys in executive session, and that's what Lieutenant Sigler did with his, and that's what I did with mine, and that's why those documents aren't public, because they're privileged documents that show personnel records and that sort of information, right? So, but they also illustrate that we've done no wrong and we're completely innocent, and you guys have all seen those documents. So it's not all
We have.
at least the three.
Yeah.
And then Councilor Ocholi's been here the whole time, he already knows. So, you know, and so has Mayor Thompson, so has Councilor Vanilla. So at least the three of you, four of you should have ample evidence to prove our innocence. But, you know, here we are 8 months later and we're still linking our head.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think, thanks, Mike, it's all in the picture of everything I keep saying, it's just putting us into all these. We're spending so much time with doing all these things, and we do have a city to run. And when all of this happens, I mean, it's just great for our staff, right? We don't have the staff who can run the city. And then if we have a situation like this, if we have said, shut it down, we'll be accused of just shutting it down and not letting it investigate it. But how long?
Right. Dragging on.
It's dragging on.
Yeah.
And what happens is, we all saw it. I mean, just now, just had one happen. I think that's not on the agenda, so this is for the next discussion, but we'll see any comments. 25 minutes.
Right.
But if we don't have control over all these things, it will be a real situation. And all we'll deal with, if we have people just breaking into people's homes, vandalizing people's properties and things like that, we need to have control. And if we don't do that, this place will just be chaotic. So Mike, Chief, and all our police officers will be doing a great job for us. I don't see any reason why we should keep pushing this down the road. I think we call for that executive meeting immediately. Too much time, because the more time we spend, the more time it goes on this individual. In pressurized. I mean, everything that has been said, I mean, would be afterwards. And what we do have freedom, but sometimes freedom, when it becomes too much freedom, it becomes a wild, wild west. We don't want that in this city.
Right.
So I support you guys. I think we should do whatever we can to get that stuff.
Okay. Thank you. Well said. Anyone else? Okay. So we'll, I guess we need to come up with a time and date to have an executive session, because we want to definitely invite our city attorney to be part of that. I know we want to do it as soon as
It's always been part of our,
he's at a conference for the League of Oregon Cities in Bend, so he probably just got to the dinner.
I thought that the attorney, our city attorney, couldn't be part of,
Executive session?
well, a part of
Investigation.
the investigation.
Yeah,
And I thought that there was some named person in a prior email. I was just trying to find it on my phone.
it's involving the Chad Lemon, situation, because he was the city attorney and he worked with us and, CIS pre-loss when that whole thing went down. So he's a witness to us following the rules throughout that process, as well as following the advice of our CIS pre-loss attorneys throughout that entire process. So that was one of the allegations, that was mishandled, when in truth, the facts were the city followed the advice of our pre-loss and legal team out of our insurance company. So Mr. Watts was our attorney at that time. He was on with that, so therefore he's a potential witness. That's why he's also, can't do the investigation himself, because he's been party to the whole thing. That's why it had to go to a neutral third party, and their communication is with Mr. Watts as the point person for the city. But it really creates a complicated situation, because I can't babysit it. I can't even be involved with it.
Right.
You know, and our attorney can't be involved with it. So we're stuck with a third-party contract with an individual who hasn't made contact.
Right,
So-
right. Well, I can contact our insurance company and for advice.
Yeah.
Our city attorney was part of our original executive session, which you attended, Mark
Yes.
attended, I attended, and we did have a portion of that where it was just us speaking with him. So I think, I don't see any reason why he can't advise us from a legal perspective on what.
Can I ask a question from a legal perspective? From my standpoint, is like, why are you entertaining an anonymous letter? Like, we should have the right to defend ourselves against whoever's saying it, so have them put their name on it if they want to. At least then, the four of us have a lawsuit against them for defamation and slander, you know? And if they're not gonna put their name to it, why are we wasting city time, money, and efforts investigating? That's my two.
So when should we have this executive session?
Tonight. And this meeting's over.
Okay. Works for me.
We're all here.
Okay.
I don't know, Robert's Rules of Order, will allow that? Okay,
It says on here, the city council may go into executive session.
okay. I'm good for
I don't
it.
think we're gonna need that long at the time, to be honest.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right.
Done. Okay, moving on to new business, August 2024 financials, action requested of the council, discuss and approve, presenter Mike Weston.
I'm going to simply ask, Mira, can you hear us, Mira? Are you log in? Then we have.
Hello?
So, we're gonna ask
Hey.
Mira to give a presentation.
Oh,
Can
Mira?
you hear me? Yes.
Mira,
I'm here.
before you get started, I haven't met you yet. I'm so sorry. Not you, Mira. I'm talking to, is it Katie? Katie, yes. And you're our new CPA, correct? Katie Carpenter, yes. Okay, welcome to the city. Thank you. Glad to be here. Okay, Mira, take it away.
Hi. Good evening. Yes, let's take a look at the August financials. Yeah, let's go over the important information is we complete the August financial bank reconciliation for two bank accounts. Yeah, we have US Bank and LGIP state pool accounts. And there's no error in recording transactions, and all payroll reports has been filed. And the highlights for the revenue in general fund is the building permits. and which are for Sumer Village project. So you can see we have the building permits, 36,000 something coming. And for school DET tax, 16,400, and the TDT tax. So the general fund, the first page is general fund. And you can see the revenue in August. The total revenue in August is 24,000. I'm sorry. The total revenue in August we have is 249,000. Yeah, and then a little bit less than the expenditure. And as everyone know, we have the property tax come in started November. That's why for July, August, September, our revenue is pretty less than the expenditure. But starting in November, December, we have the huge amount of property tax come in. So the next one is the street fund. So for the street fund, it's pretty standard. We have, for August, the total revenue is 35,694, and the expenditure is 20,487. So, and then the park fund, we just, there's no project going on, so we have transfer out $833 every month. And then for the local option lobby, there's a note under this fund here saying the negative, explaining the negative amount. So because the revenue from the property tax is less than the transfer out. So the transfer out, we divide it by 12 months. So every month we transfer 35,333 to general fund. However, in August, we don't have that much property tax come in. That's why the ending balance is negative. But as you know, in November, we will have a lot of property tax come in, and so we'll be back to normal. Yeah. And then the transportation SDC fund, and we don't have anything in August for this fund. So we just transfer 800 every month out to general fund. And then the last one is transportation development tax. So which we have in August, we have 31,700 for the TDT tax. And I want to explain for the general fund expenditure for city council account. Last meeting, somebody kind of questioning the membership deal, the $500 something per month. And those are for the membership deal for several membership. So through the year, the city pay about 500 something a month for the membership. So like less than 10,000 a year for different membership, which is like the League of Oregon Cities, you know, the Oregon Mayors Association. You can see the highlights on the memo. So is there any question for anything here?
Any questions? Nope, Mayor, none on that, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion before we approve the financials?
I just want to put a point of clarity.
Oh, yes.
Mayor was mentioning the membership. The way it was written in the last note, it kind of sounded like it was golf membership was $500 a month. We don't have golf membership.
Oh, I missed that.
And so I went back to Mayor and I'm like, what is this golf membership for $500? He's like, no, it's not golf membership, it's membership. And I'm like,
Oh.
so just the way that it was written, it made it sound like it was a golf membership. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I had a golf.
I know.
But, we don't have membership. So the membership was for, like she was saying, to Creator Portland Inc., West Side Economic Alliance, League of Oregon Cities, the Oregon Mayors Association, the ICMA, the International City Managers Association, and our Police Association, and other membership fees. So that's what that, so just for
Thank you.
knockoff.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
Katie.
Katie. She had the mic for just half a second. I would love for her to just give her quick bird's eye comment.
Yes, so I'm about 1 week in, so I don't have my arms quite around all the details just yet. But I have access. I've met with some of the folks on the team, Ronnie and Mira, and so I'm starting to dig into the details to make sure that we have a smooth transition. We'll start putting in some controls and monitoring, so I'm excited for what's to come. I heard the comments around some additional narrative. Hopefully what Mira went through today was helpful, and we'll continue to have more explanatory information around the financials, so they're helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the August 2024 financials.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you. New business item 6B, resolution 2024-13. Presenter is Max Carter.
Back 1 second.
Yeah.
Second on that motion. And Max isn't here, it's basically up to me, so, just give me 1 second. This resolution, I believe was the grant support application for the West Side Trail segment, the, regional flex fund allocations for the 2028-2030 grant program. It also allows the city to request funding through the MSTIP Opportunity Fund, Washington County, like a blast out of the past right there. Ultimately, the resolution is to support the further progress of the West Side Trail as a regional component and all the facilities and plans that go along with that. So allows us to essentially show that there's political support from our council to continue to progress with the West.
Does anyone have any questions on the resolution, comments, discussion?
Well, we're discussing the resolution. At this time, I have reservations regarding passing the resolution. The resolution combines supporting a grant application to fund the West Side Trail and to build roads. Planning Commission hasn't yet completed its work and approved a concept plan for the trail. Additional community outreach is going to be done by King City on the concept plan, using open forum and providing the community the opportunity to submit comments and input. There's a question on the utilities. Have they approved the development contained in the West Side Trail to cross their utility lines for the gas? And, well, actually all the utilities, because they probably have concerns about any undermining of their pipe, wherever their towers are. The Edgewater HOA emailed the Planning Commission requesting additional time to gather facts and information regarding Edgewater's property under the power lines before having Edgewater homeowners voting on a possible sale to the city. To acquire property, it was made abundantly clear at the last city council meeting that King City will not use eminent domain. Instead, will only involve willing sellers, even waiting for a change in ownership or a generational change in ownership. If Edgewater voters vote no, what then? I think this resolution is rushed and premature. I would move to delay consideration of resolution 2024-13 until these and other issues have been resolved. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So these funds, if this came through, would not be presented to us until 2028, is that correct?
Yeah.
So we're 3 years away.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of pools, there's lots of, funding opportunities, but yeah, we are probably a couple years away.
From, I mean, but it says funds begin distribution in 2028, so we're literally talking about potentially shooting for something and hopefully getting money in 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. So we keep kicking this down the street, it just pushes everything down even farther every year.
We're just trying to get our engineering done.
Right.
And our permitting done, so that it's a shovel-ready project. So if money hits the ground, we can go, but this is a point of order, we have a motion on the table from Council Wilson.
Is there a second?
What was your motion? Sorry.
This whole thing.
I mean, I heard what you said, but I didn't hear a motion. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Move to delay consideration of resolution 2024-13 until these and other issues have been successfully resolved.
Do I hear a second? Hearing none, we continue discussion at the next, discussion of the resolution.
So the motion died for lack of a second, so
No.
then you could consider another motion or continue discussion for motion. But typically, the way that the conversation goes is the mayor would call for a motion, and then a second, and then a discussion.
Okay, so we don't discuss before somebody moves to approve?
Typically, no. Typically, Robert's Rules of Order call for a motion and a second, and then discussion.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
On my part, I just know that when you are applying for grants, that you have to apply early, and it's like applying for a scholarship to go to college. You have to apply for 100 and hope you get 1 or 2. And so by saying, let's push this out until we have all of the issues resolved, would be like waiting until your child is 18 and wants to go to college, and then you're scrambling around trying to find money. It's, you can always not accept a grant if our plans fall through for one reason or another. But to be fiscally prudent, I think we need to move ahead with every opportunity and look for money under every rock that's available, and until this project either moves ahead or it dies. That's my opinion.
Okay. Anyone else?
You said it well.
Yeah, well said. Any other discussion before we move to a vote? Yes?
Well, again, obviously, regardless of how you do it, change is always going to happen. Different camps, other camps that for the change and in the change, and again, at the end of the day, we're looking at development. I agree, right? We've been doing it, and even with the King City roads and everything we've been talking about, we did get the community to come and get into discussion. And like Mike said, a number of events have been open to the public to come and participate. It's not like you just put this out or bring this out and just put it on the people and say, here you go, this is what it is. It's that program that I think works. And this is part of the process. And I think people don't just get how the government operates. The government is not like a private business that you just pull clouds and things, or you just make decisions and move forward. All of these things take time. All of the government takes forever to get things done. If you don't get started, it takes, like she just said, get to a point that you're late, you're too late, and everything's just falling apart. So I know a lot of people have concern. They have concern about safety, they have concern about this, about that, and everything else. But again, we do have other people that also need those services, what we are planning and discussing. All right? If we open it up for people to come out and everyone participate and put in your thoughts, let's all talk about it. But don't try to accuse anyone of saying you're not given the chance to participate. I mean, again, we do send out information set up on our website. People do our website, they can go there and get information. People saying that they can get in the mail and get email to them. The website is there. We're putting information in the website so we can go and get information. So at the end of the day, it's just a matter of people being engaged. If you need to know about what's going on in your city, get engaged. Come to the meeting, go to the website. Everything is out there, it's public information. So we're not trying to sneak up anything on anyone.
No, I wasn't accusing anybody of anything or that, but I would just say again that planning commission hasn't completed work and approved a concept. We're gonna get more city input from the community. They can attend the open house or they can submit comments. So it just seems odd that we're requesting $4 million for a plan that we don't have in place yet. We just think we could wait a month or two till we have a concept plan in place. And the communities have one more opportunity to provide input. And then, I mean, why today? Why not wait a couple months?
And I should mention, some of these things they come periodically. Even if the window is happening longer. So they're all tied up, I mean, they're all puzzles working at the same time.
Yeah, if I could, there's a grant deadline like October 25th. That's why we're bringing this forward. Also, what we have right now is like a 15 to 25% concept plan. And the grant, the $4 million grant, includes the $800,000 worth of remaining engineering work that has to be done, and the construction of everything else and all the infrastructure. It's quite substantial, actually. It's a number of projects in one combined, but the minimum ask for this particular source of funding is $4 million. So you have to have a project that's worth $4 million or better in order to even ask. So here we have a project that's on the regional transportation plan, and it has all the regional connectivity components of the parks, the infrastructure. It's going to be a great amenity for King City when it's done, and it fits into it checks all their boxes. And so that's why we're trying to get this in now, so that we can get in it and keep the ball rolling and keep the momentum that we've built so far with this grant that we have right now.
But the funds won't be available for 4 years?
There's not, but there's still things that we can do in the meantime. Like we're applying for the Oregon Water Board grant to get the kayak boat launch, trying to get that engineering going, because that's another $250,000 to $300,000 engineering piece in its own right. And that's outside of the $800,000 that I already mentioned, right? So when you start adding all these little projects, like each one, like the skate park, that's going to be its own little project. The bike park's going to be its own little project. The soccer field, its own project. You know, each one of these things is going to be its own engineering project that's going to have to be engineered and designed. All we're doing right now is the 15% concept so that we can go get the permits. And the permits are probably going to take us 6 to 12 months just to get through the permitting side of it. So that's why we have to keep these balls rolling and keep the dominoes falling. Otherwise, we will get behind and we won't have a project.
So the kayak funding is separate from this?
The whole thing is tied together, because without this funding, we don't have the parking lot or the trailhead for the kayak boat launch. And then we don't have the grading, we don't have the access, we don't have the restrooms, we don't have the kayak lockers. Like, all those pieces are in the trail itself, right? But the ramp down to the kayak launch and the kayak float and the whatever we have to put in the water, that all is a different application. So from the gangway to the water is a whole nother application from all the upland stuff that supports that gangway.
So Edgewater doesn't sell their property in King City. I mean, it seems like we should have a plan in place, and that, just in my mind, that we should have a plan in place so we know exactly what we're going to do. You know, lines on the map can change, but there's just a lot of things that aren't they haven't been resolved. And then I just have one other question. If we miss the November funding deadline this year, can we reapply next year?
It would probably be for another, again, like the next round, whenever that would be, if there's another round. So who knows? Maybe not.
And if we don't get this grant, then what?
We keep trying. We keep plugging away. This is how government works. Is we just keep plugging, and eventually it happens. Like the track at the park. We were trying for 5-6 years to get some money to fix the track at the park. We finally got the money and we fixed the track at the park. This is what we try to do. Like, we don't have buckets of cash coming out of our ears to go blow on projects. We just don't have it. We're very limited on what we can do, and it requires grant money in order to make things happen. So when people are like, King City's doing a land grab, how? I don't have any money to do a land grab. King City's destroying nature, how? I don't have money to build anything. You know, it has to come from a developer. It has to come from the property owner. It has to come from a grant for us to do anything. So a lot of the false information that's been shot out there to induce some sort of fear response from everybody is, you know, much ado about nothing, because we can't do anything, right? Unless we have a grant. Now, if we have a grant and that grant's going to fund some construction, then we might be able to do something, right? And then we might actually be able to have a project on our hands that's going to be for the betterment of King City as a whole. And that's something we can all be proud of.
And people who live in Edgewater, their property values will shoot up.
Yep.
Absolutely.
For sure. You did bring up the BMX trail and the skate park trail. I mean, it didn't appear to be a lot of public support for those. So if we were short on funds.
There was actually a decent amount of support for those.
So just as a reminder, they're also priorities.
Yeah. So we prioritize each particular one and listed them in that priority. So, we did get feedback. One was for pickleball courts as well, but we went away from the pickleball courts because we're putting pickleball courts in the Kingston Terrace town center area. So we're already building pickleball courts in the parks that are there. We also shied away from a tennis court because we already have a tennis court at the King City Community Park. The playground, we talked, there was a lot of interest in a playground, a lot of interest for the soccer fields and the dog park and the community gardens. And so the idea was, how do we plant these along this corridor so that they are spaced out appropriately and provide the most services to the most people? And so when we looked at the nature park area, it was thought that because of the way that the stream comes across from Beef Bend, this would be an ideal spot. And then we have the wetland area off to the side. It'd be a really nice area for a nature park. We wanted community gardens that could be served both on the south and the north side. There was a playground, a lot of requests for playgrounds. So we looked at what kind of playgrounds we might be able to do. And so we put, the engineers thought, well, we already have a playground on the south, so maybe we need a playground on the north to service this little area here where the mobile home park and Capulet and everything else is. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of thought and a lot of input that went in, both community input and input from the consultants, into really thinking about what services the community where and keeping everything within that quarter mile so that if you're in a quarter mile, you have something that's right there. It's right in your back door. You can go have your own community garden plot. There's a nature park, or, you get a playground, or maybe there's a soccer field or a dog park, what have you, right? So the idea was making sure that amenities were close by and servicing everybody in the community and not leaving some out. Because that's what happens right now, is the King City Community Park's all the way down on the far southwestern corner, and no one else, at King City really has an opportunity to go use that park. Because it's not accessible. So here's one that stripes the whole of King City from north to south and is accessible. So how do we make that accessible for everybody?
If we didn't get the $4 million, could we just scale it back and just do the trail?
Again, the trail doesn't meet the benchmark for the $4 million, so it wouldn't even qualify. So we ought to meet at that 4 million mark. We're trying to get a project that's gonna meet the minimum requirements for the grant.
I'll say something about trail only. When you have trail only, you end up with vagrancy and homeless camping and stuff. If you have an active park, which is what we're talking about, if you have a space that is actively programmed, then those who are houseless will not congregate there. I mean, that's just, you know, you go back to Jane Jacobs' Eyes on the Street in community development. If you have active space where people are engaged in the space, then the opportunity for crime goes way down. But if you just have a pathway, Springwater Corridor is a prime example of that over on the east side of Portland. I don't know if you've ever walked any of Springwater Corridor, but parts of it are very scary. And we do not want to create a scary space from the river up to Beef Bend Road. So saying, let's just have a trail, you're creating that opportunity.
For those of you who don't live in Edgewater, there is a dirt trail there that a lot of people use, and a lot of people use the field as a unofficial dog park.
Sure, and I'm one of them.
So, and there's no homeless people there.
On the contrary, we've actually taken quite a few homeless people out of there, so.
Well, job well done, because I've never seen it.
I know a couple of years ago.
But the point is if you have in quotes, a nicer trail, you're going to have more homeless.
It'll be nicer homeless.
No.
Okay, I take your point, but, I don't think it necessarily falls, but we can,
We can agree to disagree on this one, okay?
Well, is there any more discussion that anyone would like to contribute to this conversation before I ask for a motion?
You did.
Did I already ask for a motion?
Yes, and we seconded it, and now we're having the discussion, so it's up to a vote.
Oh.
Please.
Motion and a second, motion to approve by Councilor Tyso, and then seconded by
All right.
Councilor Walton and Councilor Gelfen, so I'm.
Okay.
Which one?
Okay.
We'll give it to Councilor Gelfen.
Are we ready to vote then? Yes? Okay. All those in favor of passing the resolution? Resolution number 2024-13. Raise your hand, please.
That's 6. Someone else online?
All those opposed?
1.
Moving on to resolution 2024-14. A resolution revising section 8 fees, charges, fines, and assessments of the city of King City. Presenter is Ronnie Smith.
So Ronnie, you want me to jump on this, or are you good at presenting? This is essentially the resolution to move our building code to digital using the state building code, Stella, and continuing our work with Claire Company. One of the questions that was brought up to me was the percentage of the rate increase on our building permits. Just so the council is aware, there's been a long process of King City just not really keeping up with time as time progresses. And so, the rates of our building permits are so far below market level right now that our contract with Claire Company is at risk because Claire Company can't even, make it pencil. So, what we did is we compared other agencies, Tiger, Washington County, and others. This will still be under their rate and within the building code, limitation. But we also have a responsibility to ensure that our building code department is sustainable in its own function and budget. And so I know it seems like a big increase, but really our prices for building permits are so far behind that we're ultimately playing catch up, and we'll still be behind some of the others like Washington County. It's a slow in the ballpark, but it still doesn't quite get it.
So you're proposing a 21.26% increase?
Yeah, and that includes our IT, the other fees across the board for our permits and use of the Acela online system.
Oh, are we pretty good about getting permits? Like,
Way better than anybody.
you know, I'm in the process of getting some permits for our company in Tualatin, and it's not fast.
We're way better.
Okay, I'm just curious how we stand.
I'm pretty proud of how quickly we're
Our disclaimer is 2 weeks,
Yeah?
but we usually have it within 3 to 5 days.
Wow.
Currently. We have a lot of,
Don't say that.
That's impressive,
a lot of
right?
growth going on in the future in King City.
That's true too, and that
Yeah.
might.
Yeah, so we try to say, you know, some of the other areas will turn around in 3 to 6 months. We try to turn them around in like 3 to 6 months. In all honesty, so
Their company is wonderful to work with,
they've done great.
and when we built that swimming facility, they were right with us all the way.
Yeah, they are a great agency, and, you know, they're in here 2 to 3 times a week. Really, customer friendly and easy to access, and honestly, I just hear nothing but compliments from the building community on the efficiency and the turnaround on the permits coming out.
So if we're behind even with this increase, can we have some kind of schedule that we could not be behind in maybe a year or two?
Well, this basically puts us close.
Yeah.
But then we also have like a CPI adjustment to follow, so it should keep us online. But the building code division has limitations on how much we can increase it, and that's every 2 years.
We can increase it every year, however, our company and I, we tried to play with it last time in 2020, where it was still a large jump, and then we also tried to add 2% every other 2 years, just to try to fluctuate, but we couldn't keep up with inflation, so it didn't work.
Yeah, we had a 20% plus increase in inflation. What year was that?
I think it was 18.3 or something like that.
Yeah, it was some crazy jump.
We've been kind of fighting with it. This year, this one is going to be a little bit better because we really looked at inflation. Washington County, we didn't really want to match Washington County because we still kind of.
Okay.
You know.
That's good.
Yeah, really quick, I have a question, a clarification. The subject of this is Section 8. Section 8 is subsidized housing. So what is this regarding to?
Section 8 is all the building codes.
In our code.
On the resolution or?
In our resolution, in the main resolution.
I'm having a hard time hearing Ronnie. I can't.
So he's saying that Section 8 is pertaining to the building codes within our ordinance.
Oh.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with the Section 8 housing.
Not Section 8 housing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Good question.
Carry on.
And I can bring that up if you'd like.
I mean, it sounds like we're long overdue for an increase.
Yeah. 2020 was the last time we did it, which was 4 years ago, and it was a modest increase, and it's just kind of like a leveling, and then that's when we put the CPI adjustment on it, but we could only do 2%. Building code department would only allow us to do 2% per year. So we were starting from behind. We upped it a little bit, which we thought, I think it was like 10 or 15%, but that, it was less than that, wasn't it? 5% maybe? In 2020.
So in the contracts that I'm dealing with, a lot of them we're just peeling the Band-Aid off and going where what we can to get level set. If there's nothing saying that we're capped at a certain percentage, we should probably level set so we're not playing catch up in the future.
What he's saying is that we should probably think about what it takes for us to get level right now so that we don't have to play catch up. And I think this gets us pretty close.
This gets us pretty close. We can definitely do it for next year.
It's every 2 years.
No, I think we can do it every year. I'll double check with David.
All right, yeah, that might be a building code question, so.
Yeah, but if we decide not to do this, we have to start to do that.
If we decide not to do what?
Notification of the,
The whole new notification and our go live date is
Friday?
October 21st,
Yes, we thought, oh, so not Friday, but Monday.
Monday.
Because I know we're closed Thursday, Friday is building code, no, because we're making the transition into a cell.
Okay.
And so we had to do a big notice on that. But then we reopen on Monday and we're on the state, electronic permitting system.
Great. Any other questions for city staff on the resolution? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Moved.
The motion is to approve resolution R 2024-14. All those in favor?
Was there a discussion in the?
Sorry.
I just had a point, by my memory, it used to be we read the resolution. Did we do away with that?
Usually what we'll do is we'll read, an ordinance, but a resolution, typically, we could read it by like short title if you want, or like a proclamation, I read the whole proclamation.
No, I just want to do it by the book. If it's not necessary.
Resolutions are not necessary.
I don't think it's necessary.
Ordinances are the ones that,
I don't see it as necessary since we all received this a week ago and it was publicly noticed a week ago, but I think it's a great question. Thank
Mike
you.
wrote really appreciate.
Yeah,
not having to
it's
read
been
it.
6, that was,
Yeah, I can recall you reading a real long one.
yeah,
It's
I
a little
remember.
long-winded sometimes, we appreciate not having.
Okay, so are we ready to vote then? All those in favor of approving resolution R 2024-14, please raise your hand.
6 here, 7 with Councilor Nelson.
Great. We'll move on to police chief's report. Chief Hapola.
Just a little short, quick, sorry from the police side of the house. Next meeting in November will be awards to KCPG officers. Awards will include Valor Award, Life Saving, and Department Accommodations, so that'll be at the next meeting that we hand those out, long overdue. And, I came across that we had the first, data come out as for the deflection program, and through the first 30 days, statewide, there was 349 minor drug charges that were referred to deflection programs. Interestingly enough, 187 of them were from Washington. That were actually drilled and getting people into the deflection program. Unfortunately, about 2/3 of those, FTA failed to appear in court for that. So it's kind of disturbing. The programs that are available to them out there. Just to compare, the court system of Washington County right now, court system's on track for 9,000.
Wow.
Warrants and warrants they have launched. To arrest a lot of people and that's all I have for that.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief Hapola? No. Thank you so much. City Manager's report.
I've been gone, so I don't have much to report, but we did have a nice open house, last Tuesday. We had a group in here, probably about 20 to, I'd say probably 20, so between 20 and 30 people showed up, and, it provided a, nice relaxing atmosphere. Mr. Fair was here, so was, Ms. Beth, Mr. Mayor was here. We had a good time. I think Mr. Olson was here as well, and, Mr. Ortoli stopped by. It gave us an opportunity to really talk to a lot of the folks out there in the Kingston Terrace area, explain what the local wetland inventory was all about, basically set the regulations for the city. Kind of identified where those wetlands are, so if the developer comes into the city and they have a development proposal, we're like, hey, looks like there's a wetland there, you're gonna need to, do a wetland delineation to further identify those areas for protection and those sort of things. So I think there was some confusion out there. A few people felt like, this was by King City to do like a land grab and stuff like that. So I had to kind of explain that, no, it's just us kind of looking for natural resources for protection purposes. And, it's a regulatory process. I think it gave us a chance to really talk to people and have some of that, open dialogue, more that we don't have in the open forum here and when you're in a more structured setting. And, I thought it was really beneficial. We had Noah from, David Evans and Associates with us, and we had Jabra from, Department of State Lands, and they did a really great job of presenting what the wetlands looked like out there and where they were. I think we got some really great feedback from the community, and I really look forward to seeing, how those reports look as they, take that feedback and, go review those things when we come to a final kind of local wetland inventory. And as I was trying to explain it to the group there, it's like our consultants go out and paint with a pretty broad brush. And, the idea there is that we're trying to protect those resources to the maximum extent possible. And so they're kind of going out there and saying, oh, it's all right here, but unless they have on-site access, they can't pinpoint exactly where those areas are. And so, I think our consultants did a pretty good job of judging conservatively on where those areas were. And they'll be refined as developers come in and they want to develop, and then they'll do the on-site survey. And those are through the delineation process, and then they'll have to submit those to the Department of State Lands for concurrence. And I think it's a bit of a process. A lot of people, it's a very confusing process and a very elaborate process that is multi-jurisdictional, and trying to explain all the jurisdictions involved. I mean, Dean probably knows, I know, but you have National Marine Fisheries Service, you have ODFW, you have U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Councilor Ocholi probably knows, you have NOAA, you have Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, and you have U.S. Fish and Wildlife. You have Department of Environmental Quality, SHPO, the cultural, the tribes, everything. Everything's involved in these type of permits. So trying to explain the elaborate level of which these permits usually navigate through is kind of a difficult process. But I really felt Jabra from TSL did a great job, and Noah did a great job kind of explaining that process to everybody. And I was really happy with the interactions with people. It was very positive. And I think it really went a long way for building something more comfortability, if you will, for lack of a better word. I know that's not a word, but
understanding.
For building more comfort
Yeah.
With what we're trying to do. And I think it went well. I hope that we now have an open house with Westside Trail. Really hoping that we have an opportunity to kind of have that open dialogue again and kind of discuss. You don't have to be fearful. I look forward to those conversations, and I really enjoy getting out there with the public and having open dialogue with folks. So we're also going to try to plan some things here later this month and into November for probably like a Tuesday morning coffee and donut session, exchange of ideas, and we're going to put that up on our website here probably starting the end of October, last week in October, and then probably following up the next 2 weeks Hopefully that opens up some dialogue opportunities for people to come talk to us. I'd really like if maybe a couple counselors would, sign up for, one of those morning shifts as well. And my objective is to have, at least 2 counselors, actually no more than 2 counselors. Great. And, from there, we can.
The quorum
No
thing.
quorum.
Yeah, no quorum thing, that was getting away. But,
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you could make sure that you let us all know when those are gonna be.
Yeah, I think the first one's probably gonna be October, what is it, 29th or 30th, if I'm not mistaken.
29th is the open house for the.
In the morning or evening? In the evening, right? Yeah, so this would be morning.
Yeah, it's 5:30. Are you gonna do it here, or are you gonna do it at?
Coffee and donuts here.
Okay.
Coffee and donuts, morning forum, come in, yeah, have my ideas. Sign up.
Keep
What
it
time in the morning, Susan?
So, I was gonna go from, like 9 to 11.
On the 29th or the 30th, or you'll
Yeah,
get back
29th,
on the 29th?
yeah.
I do like a 5 to 7.
Well, that's when.
Well, we already have an open house from,
I'm talking about AM.
oh.
Oh.
I can do 5 to 7 a.m.
Yikes.
I can do 5 to 7, but I don't know very many people that will.
Yeah, that's usually when Brian, Ernie, and I are here, so, you know, that works great for us.
I don't think it's most of the residents in town. I bet you they're awake at 5.
Yeah, if they're like me, they are.
And this was for what?
Just open forum discussion, you know, Councilor Tyso brought up before, just an exchange of ideas and things, and just talk about ongoing issues within King
Will
City.
there be others?
What's that?
Will there be other dates?
Yeah, so I was trying to put together a series of dates. So I was thinking we'd just go with Tuesdays for like 2 to 3 weeks. And so that would be probably the 29th, the, 5th and the 12th. I think actually the 12th won't work, so, the 29th and the 5th should work out.
Can we make one of them a different day of the week?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah,
Just kind of mix it up a little bit.
yeah.
So maybe we have like Tuesday the 29th, and then do you want to do, what, a Wednesday or a Thursday or Monday?
Doesn't matter to me particularly. I mean, a Wednesday or Thursday is better for me than a Tuesday, but
So
Why don't you send us an email about it?
we could do Friday, Friday the 8th works for me as well.
yeah, Friday the 8th.
So let's go, okay, so let's go October 29th. We'll do November 8th. Want to do a 3rd,
Yeah,
the following week?
sure.
So you want to do like a Monday or?
Doesn't matter to me,
Tuesday?
'cause I'll sign up for the 8th.
Okay. All right. The following week is the week of 11th through the 15th. The 11th is a holiday, so that probably wouldn't work. The 12th doesn't work. So that would leave us Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday of that week. How about a Wednesday? We haven't done Wednesday. Councilor Schultz?
So for all these days, are we saying the same times, or are we just moving the times?
Yeah, times are all the same. So it'd be like a little morning coffee and donuts.
Like people are growing up and they love them go to walk out.
Yeah, anyone. Yeah, they just need to call us and reserve a spot. And I just don't want, to get like 50 people come in, you know,
I guess I
make
think-
sure we can provide for them.
I think what I'm hearing from the counselors is maybe we could do one that's like a 7 to 9 or something, a little bit earlier before work. Is that what you're suggesting?
Or in the evening.
Do you want to do that?
Go to
Like
work.
7 to 9?
Some people go to work in the morning, I mean.
Oh, right. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
29th? Right. And I have you for the 8th.
Okay.
And then,
Yeah, I'm just putting the 8th.
Maybe send this out in an email too, just
Yeah,
tomorrow or something,
Yeah.
because I just need to get in my work calendar, which I don't have with me, so.
so I'm just gonna suggest that we have it be that, Wednesday, the November 13th. That's okay?
Right. I missed what we were talking about here. What are we signing up for? Because I might be able to do something.
It's just the exchange of idea forum that Councilor Tyso was mentioning at the previous hearing, or the previous council meeting.
What dates have been?
October 29th, from 9 to 11. November 8th.
Okay.
And we can move it, you want to do 7 to 9? Right?
November, what time, November 8th?
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, and it doesn't, for me, it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to think, you know, if it's people who are working, they probably would appreciate earlier. But if it's people who are retired, they're probably going to want to do later. So, you know, it's hard to span that.
What time works for you, Councilor Manel?
I mean, Fridays after like 11 a.m. work for me. Thursday afternoons.
So we could do November 8th. You want to do like an 11 to 1? Kind of mixing it up.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I should be able to do
That time's better for me too.
So November 8th, 11 to 1. More of a luncheon.
Yeah. Donuts for lunch? Yum.
Do it.
And then the last date I was thinking was like Wednesday, November 13th. And we could do the before work version, 7 to 9 is fine with me. Here by 6:15 with.
Or maybe you and Gary can talk once he has his work schedule.
Wednesday work?
I'll figure it out.
Okay.
What days?
November 13th.
Yeah, I should be in town.
Okay. So I'll just plan for like a 7 to 9 one there.
Yeah, I'll make it work.
And we'll get.
Great. And then October 29th was going to be the 9 to 11?
9 to 11.
Perfect.
Yeah, October 29th, 9
That's
to 11,
great.
November 8th, 11 to 1.
That gives a lot of options.
7 to 9.
A lot of options for people to attend between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. Or 1 p.m., sorry. Yeah, 1 p.m.
And you councilors can let me know which ones.
Okay, great.
As a community, they call and reserve a spot as well,
Yeah,
and that's available now.
we're gonna get it out. I just wanted to get that with you guys first.
Okay. I like it. Do you have anything else for us? Should we take a quick break before the council reports, or should we do it after the council reports before we do a quick bio break?
I'd rather do a break after council report.
Okay, let's do the council reports. Mark, do you want to start us off since you're online?
Yep, sure, that's fine. Thank you, Mayor. I'm currently at the LOC 99th annual conference. So next meeting, I will update on everything that happened here. I thought we were going to add an item to the agenda since it has come to light that a current person running for city council has possibly been accused of theft of signs over in the River Terrace area in Bull Mountain. So I don't know.
I was gonna bring that up during my report, but we can talk about it now if you'd like.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Sure. So a community member that's on our budget committee was he arrested, or he was arrested for stealing from the local developers that have had their signs out, campaign signs.
Yeah.
So apparently the police found over 40 signs that he had stolen on his property on River Lane, and he's the one that said, his name's Carl Swanson. He says that he lives in King City, running for city council, but when they came to his home on River Lane, that's where he was, at his home.
Right, and they put in the police report that that's his residence, his home residence. So
yeah.
I don't believe, and like I questioned him during his process to get on some of the committees. I don't believe he's a resident of King City. I think he is not telling you the truth.
I think what we need to do is schedule a hearing to discuss whether or not we should vote to remove him from the budget committee. And
I mean, yeah, we should probably put it on next month's agenda because he has the right to defend himself, right? So
correct.
we can put that on the next agenda, but or we can maybe just call a meeting next week or something and having it just on that item.
Yeah, I think I'd spoken with Mike Weston about it the other day, and I think he was going to look into the timeline associated with noticing a hearing. So I'm going to let Mike fill us in on that.
Perfect.
So it's interesting because the hearing piece is only for city councilors, and there was something for planning commissioners as well. So based on our reading of the ordinance, we looked into it. Budget committee is assigned through the ORS, not necessarily through our charter. And so at that point, it's an appointment by this council. So you can appoint and vacate positions. So there's really no need for a public hearing if you don't want to. But I agree with what Councilor Manella said. If you're going to bring someone in the defendant, I think everyone should be entitled.
Right, everyone should be entitled. But if that's the case, I mean, what does the rest of the council, do we want to add it to the agenda tonight and remove, or do we want to give the ability for Mr. Swanson to defend himself?
What do you all think? Something that we should schedule a hearing and have him, or an agenda item and have him present for, or a special meeting? What do you all think we should do?
In either case, it should be public.
Okay.
So that rather than an executive session, I believe.
I agree.
And either we meet and he is the only item on the agenda, or we hold it over till November's meeting, and it will be an agenda item for our regular meeting. And I'm not sure that it makes a lot of difference. And just having it as something that, rather than having to do it next week. I'm not sure what the urgency, how much urgency there is in this process, other
I
than.
mean, the only urgency I see is that he's currently running for a city council position, and the election's in 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks.
So then yes, we should have.
a sense of urgency, only.
Right, and
Yes.
and the other item, that there's a group of all of them that are running together. If one of them is doing this, are the others? Do we ask Tigard PD to investigate the other counselors that are, or the other community members that are running for council, they're all running together as one ticket for 3 seats?
I'm not sure if I want to go there personally. I don't believe that one bad apple ruins the entire bunch. He could just be acting alone. But I think it's important that we address this quickly. I wouldn't be opposed to even just talking about it in the executive session tonight, but that's just because I don't want to waste any time and give it more time than it really needs. But
I don't believe this qualifies as an executive session.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because it's not employee.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
So
do we
then-
need to make a motion to add this to the agenda?
Well, we can, but the next meeting is after the election.
Well, we can add it to the agenda right now to tonight and then keep discussing it, because I don't know if we should really discuss it without it being an agenda item.
That would be my preference too, just as a rule of order. I think before we start going down the path, we need a motion and a second to add it to the agenda, and then a vote to add it.
Right.
And then we can continue this discussion, or a motion and a second to add it to
I kind of would like to see some sort of, some facts. I would like to see the police report, or I would like to see something, because that's just telling him this is what we heard.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that what we heard isn't true, but I would really like to hear it, see a police report or
It's on social media.
Well, it's online. Ronnie, do you have a copy? You can put it up on the screen, public record.
It's not.
Been released.
I don't know if we have a copy.
I cannot do that.
Yeah, I don't know if we even have a copy, Councilor Morales. We could probably acquire a copy.
That would be something that I would want to prepare with before we give him the opportunity to confront
Okay.
him, like this is what we're looking at, what do you say,
Okay.
kind of thing. Maybe not, in that order.
I think we should schedule a quick special meeting one day next week. And so it can be noticed and people can either watch it on Zoom or show up here, and we have the opportunity to say, yeah, I did it, or no, I didn't, or these are the extenuating circumstances, because we don't know yet.
Planning Commission on the 23rd. Yes or no?
And I'm going to be out of town the 23rd and 24th, so
Our next planning commission.
that doesn't mean the rest of you can't show up.
13th of November. Okay.
And why don't we have it on men's night?
Yeah,
So how about the 22nd,
Yeah.
Tuesday?
that's a great night for me.
Yeah,
Tuesday, the 22nd, work,
Yeah.
Ronnie, do you have anything scheduled that night?
Yes, I can do Tuesday the 22nd.
Ronnie, can you do Tuesday the 22nd?
So while we're kind of discussing this, quick question, while we just said it's still under investigation, or is it closed? Is it available at 22nd? Do we know?
All that we're aware of is that there was an arrest for criminal theft. And Mr. Swanson was part. That was
Mr. Swanson?
Carl Swanson.
Carl Swanson, sorry.
So our
Yeah.
meeting will be to discuss it and look at.
I'm available
the
the
report and
22nd.
have a discussion about it.
He's on the budget committee?
Yes.
When does the budget committee meet?
Typically they meet, once a year mostly, unless there's an amendment to the budget. But
I don't want to equate killing signs with what you and the police officers are going through. But we really heard an impassioned discussion on being accused of something. And right now,
No,
he's accused of theft, and he has not been convicted of it.
we need to move on this because he is on the budget committee and there is a election coming up and he doesn't even live in King City because it's on the police report on where he lives.
Yeah, that's something that would need clarification, because I know he owns 2 houses, and one of them is in King City.
What are you clarifying? The officer said he lived there. It says his home address. He didn't even contest it. Let him come in and talk about it. Let him come in on our special meeting and talk about where he lives.
Yeah, that would be great. And if he says he lives in King City, and he
Make
says,
him prove it. Make him prove it.
well, I think he has. Isn't that been proven in the court?
we're actually challenging
No.
that in court, so I can't talk about that right
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
It's messy.
Messy.
Well, I don't think, I would suggest that we want to remove him, not because we think he lives outside of the city limits. We want to remove him because of the theft issue. That's the reason.
That's
we're
correct.
focused on, I think, is
Correct.
That subject, not let Mike and his, whatever he's doing, decide whether he lives in King City or not, and that'll get sorted out down the road.
Yeah.
But in the short term, all we're focused on is there was some theft of some signs that isn't the picture of the type of person we want on any committee with this.
Again, it would be allegedly. It's not been convicted.
I think it is pretty positive that he was in possession of 44 signs that he stole from defendants.
Right. They were at his property.
He was cited for criminal. in the record. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, so what time on Tuesday?
What time on Tuesday?
I think we should have a discussion about it, and he can answer the
Okay.
question.
That works.
Because it wasn't me, it was,
But we're really impassioned
Oh, I'm gonna say
discussion
it,
about,
yeah.
you know, let's.
Well, there was witnessed it that called it in, police responded to his address, he had the signs at his address.
It looks bad, but, if the glove doesn't fit, you must have quit, you know, we'll wait till, what the court says.
Absolutely, let him come and say why he had 44 signs at his property and why he was there.
conversation. Okay, so what time is good next Tuesday?
I'm thinking 6 P.M.
Okay,
Yeah.
Pardon?
6 P.M. That's a typical meeting time.
I can be here at like 6:15. We do 6:30, does
Yeah.
that give me enough time?
Yeah.
Please,
You want 6:30?
6:30, please.
Sounds good to me, because I got a lot going on that day.
Okay. 6:30 next Tuesday.
And is that
Perfect.
available by Zoom?
Will that be available by Zoom, Ronnie?
Yeah, it should be.
Whatever you guys want.
Okay.
Should be.
And will you invite Mr. Swanson, please?
Yes.
And do we need to make a public notice somehow? of this?
Is this a hearing?
No.
Come into the city, or is this where we are talking? I need
Right.
verbiage to put on the notice.
Right, I understand. I don't think it's a public hearing, is it?
I
Or
think
is it
that's what we have to do.
a public hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. Public hearing.
Is that enough notice between,
It's a quick turnaround. It's not for sure, it's a quick turnaround, but, you know, we reach out to Mr. Swanson, offering him an opportunity to present his case and why he was in possession of so many signs and why he was caught stealing them off East Bend. And, you guys can determine.
Thank you. Okay, anything else for us, Mark?
No, that was all, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We need a motion. Oh. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to set a public hearing for 6:30 PM next Tuesday, October 22nd.
So moved.
And
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Mark's raising his hand.
5, this Councilor Choli,
Yes.
5.
All those,
5.
all those against? All those abstaining?
Well, since this is really sprung on us, it wasn't on the agenda, and we've had a brief discussion, at this point, I'll say no then. I'd say we really don't support it at this point.
Okay. Understandable. Yeah, and one absent for the vote, is that right? Okay, perfect. Who would like to go next? I'm looking at you, kid.
the other thing I've got is, the 23rd, 3:00 in the afternoon, Evans have a meeting they've invited me to. What I'm gonna do there, I don't know.
Sounds good, thank you.
Back up 1 second and get,
Yes.
Councilor Choli's vote on the motion was to have a special meeting for a public hearing on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. That's 6.
Is that all you had, Jenny? Okay. Gary? Okay. Jan?
I do not. I've been a little bit lax, it feels like, so, but yeah, no,
Randy?
at the moment.
Well, honestly, last council meeting, we had a really rigorous and sometimes passionate discussion on eminent domain and city perceptions and the community's perception. And it's a shame, more people weren't here, because I thought it would really lay a good foundation for the, proposed open houses that, the Councilor, Jan and the Councilor Gary of, what looks like they're gonna happen now. But I thought it was a really good discussion. Sometimes it was a little bit emotional, but, I thought it, people got to say their opinions, and then we had the continued discussion a little bit after the council meeting, and, I thought, for one, it was productive.
Good, yeah. Thank you. Counselor Tully?
Yes, so like I said, I was here, we were here together, and it was a good turnout. We always say, encourage the community to come out, and whenever we have the opportunity for them to come out and see what we're doing, participate and contribute to what we're kind of trying to offer to the city. That way we're all part of it, we all live in this city, and we might as well all contribute to making it a better place to live in. So I'm glad to see that Mike and Alex were here to answer questions, and a lot of people were interested in asking questions and walking around, and it was really good. So thank you, Mike, for coordinating and the team. Okay.
I do have one announcement. I apologize. Metro is having an open house on October 30th from, let's see, what time is it? From 9 to noon, discussing designing livable streets and trails. It's a workshop. And so, I would encourage people counselors to attend if possible, so all of us can better understand the whole process of our overall plan and how we can help guide, in particular, transportation and trails to make, the areas that we are opening for development into the best spaces we know how.
And did I send that link out to the council? Because they also had the visioning link as well, so I went through a lot of emails today, so.
Yeah.
I think I saw it.
Okay, I thought I forwarded it to you guys, so I think if you just hit that link, you can RSVP.
Right.
And attend, yep.
Thank you.
Could I, Councilor Faso, would you repeat that meeting, when it is? What is the meeting and when is it?
When is
I'm
it?
on the planning commission, and I think.
Oh, sure. It is October 30th from 9 to noon. Let me pull this
Is
back
that
up.
October 30th, Councilor Tyso?
Yes, October 30th
From 9 to noon.
from 9 to noon, and they are providing lunch. And so it really doesn't get over until 1.
Metro.
Yeah, Metro, and it'll be at Metro. Maybe you can forward him that email.
Oh, the planning commission.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All the planning
yeah.
commissioners, that's great.
I would say it would be an excellent for people that are on the planning commission.
Sorry to interrupt, I wanted to clarify.
No. I'm glad you brought it up.
Counselor Tully, did you have something else to add?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I also actually did water advisory report, decided, and, so something is coming up, sometime around 28th of October, and that message went out to all, consumers, customers. We have a change in the billing, system. It's called Thailand Technology, and, a lot of changes will be happening regardless of if you have, auto pay set up or if you ivory pay. You need to be, mindful of, setting something up to make sure your account is set up correctly. So the 28th of October is when that's going to be, and they're doing it because of the growth. They're getting a lot of, customers added, and the old system is not able to, kind of cater to the volume of, growth that they're seeing right now. So in anticipation of the growth coming up all over the area, they're trying to upgrade their system, and that's going to go into effect on the 20th of October.
Great.
So they sent that out to everyone, so they shared that in the meeting. And we also have a tour of some of the reservoirs and other locations around just to show the improvement. So some of that is also part of the growth and the demand coming in the future with all the growth around this area. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. That just leaves me, and we already discussed what I was going to discuss during my time, so I think we should take a break after we adjourn. and then we'll come back for executive session. So
I told Mr. Watts that I would, call him on my phone, so he's expecting a call. I'll leave that in your care, and,
Go ahead and adjourn.
well, we take a,
I think she needs to do it now, so.
we need to adjourn first.
recess.
We need to adjourn, and then we'll recess, and then we'll.
Okay, so I can't end.
Okay. Okay. All right. Purposes of, the TV,
So are you saying that we should recess and then adjourn?
adjourn to, executive session, and you
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
to, executive.
Okay.
And it should give you the ORS for what the executive session pertains
Got it.
to.
Okay. The City of King City Council will now meet in executive session on October 16th at the end of the regular meeting tonight for the purpose of attorney-client privilege. Executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192-660, subsection 2H, which allows the council to meet in executive session to conduct deliberations on labor negotiations. On attorney-client privilege. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in the executive session. Note, the governing body may choose to allow other specified persons to attend the executive session. C. Barker versus City of Portland, 67, or Act 23, 1984. Right. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor of adjourning?
Oh, we have to say,
Oh, I didn't get a second.
There's the tie, which you want a second?
I'll second. He can move, I'll second.
All those in favor of adjourning our regular session?
7.
Okay. We will take a 5-minute break. Ish.